So hi everybody, my name is Rahul Ishwar. I am a senior product manager with QuickSight. I was responsible for the launch of Pixel Perfect reporting a couple of years ago. Excited to be talking to you today and getting things started. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to be talking about what is Pixel Perfect reporting, first of all. Some of the key features that we already have. I want to also give you a sneak peek into what is coming soon. And then we'll kind of do a demo just to kind of showcase the power of Pixel Perfect reporting, what it can do, and how you can generate a report very, very quickly. And then I'll hopefully save some time towards the end for answering some questions. Or as Maddie mentioned, you can drop your questions into the community and I'll respond as soon as I can. So let's take a look at some of these examples. Hopefully these should look familiar from your day-to-day lives, right? These are phone bills, utility bills, bank statements. These are all examples of pixel perfect reporting or reporting that you use in your day-to-day lives. Back maybe a decade or two ago, these used to be printed and sent and done that way. Nowadays, everything is digital and online for the most part. But from a business and use case perspective, even probably in your own companies, you may still be using some aspects of this. I do at this point want to kind of clearly differentiate how this varies from other aspects of reporting. So when you think about dashboarding or executive summaries, the key thing there is that it's interactive. Users are coming in, they are looking for answers to key insights or questions. They're slicing and dicing it, they're filtering it, and they're getting to a certain nugget of information. The key thing about reports here in this particular, as these examples illustrate, these are periodically sent. It's a monthly statement, it's a weekly report. These are created once typically, and then just generating at large scales, right? So how does this kind of look within QuickSight? So within QuickSight, we have both. We have dashboards and we have reports. This is an example of how a dashboard gets generated and printed from a report from a PDF perspective. You can see that it's a one-page quick snapshot. I have visuals that I can clearly identify how my profit is doing by state in the top left, or what are my best-selling drinks and market sizes. In comparison, this is what that same information could look like in a pixel perfect report. You can see that this is an 8-page formatted output that you could imagine being sent out to your salespeople or your finance folks. And the difference being, other than the formatting and the look and feel, is the fact that this table of product sales spans across multiple pages, right? A lot of detail here that somebody would look at the individual transactions, probably look at the details there, and be able to dive into the details. So that's clear. That's kind of the difference between dashboards and reports. And QuickSight offers the ability to build both within the same platform. You're able to get key critical insights as well as provide your users the flexibility and the ability to use one or the other or both. Because QuickSight is a cloud-based solution, it scales very easily. And from a cost perspective, there's no overhead, there's no management. As new features get rolled out, that immediately get reflected in the QuickSight application. So it's fully managed. So there's no more costly upgrades, updates to do, and maintenance of the infrastructure itself. And hopefully, as the demo will illustrate, you can get started very, very quickly on this. But before I kind of jump into the demo, I just wanted to kind of quickly talk about what are some of the key features that we already have. So one of the key aspects of pixel perfect reporting is the ability to create highly formatted outputs. You're able to identify and create paginated or pixel perfect reports, as you can see here, in various different paper sizes, dimensions, orientation, whether there's portrait, landscape. And you can also see that there are some key aspects that you commonly associate with reports. The ability to add a header, the ability to add a footer, and have these tables take up as many pages as necessary so that it renders all the data that you have. From a build perspective, you're able to build both of these, the dashboard and the pixel perfect reports together. And this is very powerful. The main reason is from a data perspective, you're able to ingest the data into QuickSight once. You're able to create all those business rules, all the calculations, all those fields once, but then have the user experience be customized to what users need. They're able to also consume these together. So it's not only about building them in one place, but you're also, as a user, you can have the best of both worlds. You're able to interact with this data, you're able to get those insights, but you're also able to get that formatted periodic snapshots that are being generated and sent to you. It doesn't stop with just PDFs, right? When you kind of think about what do users typically ask for, it's also the ability to get raw data, whether it be in Excel or CSV format. And with Pixel Perfect Reporting, you're able to schedule the export of these tables and pivot tables into both CSV and Excel format, saving users the time and headache of coming into the application and then downloading it manually every Monday morning. Now you can just kind of push these data outputs to their inboxes so that way they can just open it up and get going. We preserve the formatting, which is very important for certain use cases. And with that, the users are able to get multi-sheet outputs here. So you can see in the bottom, we have the occupancy details, we have the summary, we have the table, we have all that information across and generated from multiple visuals here in this example. And you're able to schedule the export of the Excel file as well. We also have the ability to create advanced schedules. So it's not just about, hey, I want this output to be sent to me weekly, daily, but you're also able to create custom schedules on a different cadence. On the monthly and weekly options, you're able to pick specifically, I want to send this on the last Friday or last Monday of every month. And the nice part about it is that for any of these scheduled outputs, we retain these snapshots for users to be able to come back into the system and access for up to a year. So you don't have to go to your inbox and find when did I receive that last email. You're able to go into the application, into QuickSight, and be able to download and retrieve any of these snapshots for up to a year. It's really helpful. So, in addition to these scheduled and export use cases here, the other very important thing is the ability to create these same outputs, whether it be PDF, Excel, and CSV, via APIs as well. So programmatically being able to generate these reports at scale. So in this flow, as an example, you can see that you're able to ingest the data source via glue or via direct connection to QuickSight, be able to utilize Spice, our in-memory engine, and you're able to then call these snapshot export APIs on reports that you've already built. The nice thing is you're able to pass in parameters and prompts, so you're able to generate different outputs based on the same report for different users. And the cherry on top is that you're able to take all these generated outputs and you're able to place them in an S3 bucket of your choosing. So from a customer experience perspective, what you're able to do now is that you are able to generate these artifacts, whether again PDF, CSV, or Excel files, have them stored in an S3 bucket, and then from there you're able to distribute that to whomever or however you want to do that. So you can then have post-processing steps to email them to a distribution list. You're able to email them or SFTP it over, or have the files get picked up and then processed by a downstream application. So these APIs can only be used with the Pixel Perfect reports. They are designed so that way you're able to complement the schedules that QuickSight offers natively, but be able to do this at scale programmatically as well. So when we kind of take a step back and kind of look at what does Pixel Perfect reporting or pagination reporting offer, it's the ability to create these reports and dashboards in a unified manner. You're able to create that data set once, be able to consume those, be able to build them equally. The nice thing about this experience is that all the visuals, visual types, and all the enhancements that we are doing on the interactive sheets get translated over to the Pixel Perfect reports as well. So all the different chart types, everything is getting supported natively. The output is highly formatted and it's printable and it's designed that way. So that way it's a what you see, what you get approach. So as an author, what you're looking at and what you're building is what it's going to produce at the end. So I've kind of talked at length about what we already have. I wanted to kind of give a sneak peek into what we are about to launch over the next couple of months. And these are features that are already in preview. So if you are interested, feel free to reach out and we can add you to these preview capabilities. So the first and foremost is the ability to create prompts while generating these reports. So while we've kind of built this model where an author is setting up these outputs, and as a user or as a consumer, you may want to self-filter. So in this particular example, I may have access to all the data, all the states. However, I've been asked, or I'm looking to only generate a report for the state of Georgia. So with the author has provided me as a user control values or prompts, which I can then select. And by clicking on this run now, I'm able to generate a PDF output that has been pre-filtered for the specific state that I was interested in. By this, the users are able to be self-empowered to be able to create and generate these outputs when and how they need. The other feature that I will also highlight from a demo perspective is the concept of repeating sections. This is very powerful. Here you can see that I have two visuals on screen. I have a pie chart and a table. I want each of these to be repeated for all 50 states. I don't want to sit there and filter each one, duplicate the visual, and then filter for each state. That's very tedious and time consuming, and that's not a very good use of my time. So rather, by using this concept of repeating sections, what I'm able to have the system do is generate every combination, in this case for states, and have that repeated automatically. So you can see in the top right, I have Alabama shown, but it also indicates that I have 1 of 50. And this gets generated and reflected in the reports as well as they get created. And we'll see an example of that here shortly. All right, so let me jump over to the demo. All right, so I'm going to just start the foundation. So I've logged into my QuickSight account. I have gone to my data sets. I want to look at my business review. Here's where you would set up that row level security and column level security that I was just talking about. So you can see that I can set up based on users. I can say, okay, for these users, they should only have access to this data. I can also set it up based on tags. So this would be for your anonymous use case, where we don't necessarily need to know who the person is. We just need to know what they've logged in with, what tag. So I'm going to be using this data set for the demo. I'm going to use this in an analysis. You can see here, I'm presented with this modal option. And as I was kind of describing, I'm able to select the ability to either build an interactive sheet, which is allowing my users to actually set filters, be able to slice and dice the data, or be able to create multi-page, highly formatted output. And you can see when I've selected the paginated report option, I'm presented with a myriad of different paper sizes, the ability to create paper, set up the orientation as well, and we're able to change this after the fact as well. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and leave these to be default. And you can see here, right off the bat, the canvas has changed to look like a paper. And that's by design. So what the author, or what I'm able to build and visualize here will exactly be what is going to get printed. And just to kind of show you the alternative, as an interactive sheet, the design doesn't really need to have a page constraint because it is designed to be viewed on a computer or a mobile device where paper constraint is really not the main focus. So that's kind of the comparison between the two. So when we kind of look at our report sheets here, I'm going to start by adding a logo. So I'm going to create a custom visual and a content. I already had one image here that I'm going to just drop in. And no surprise, it is a QuickSight logo. So I'm going to put that here on the top right. I'm also going to be able to add text boxes with which I can give a title for my report here and format that appropriately. And I do apologize, I'm not a UX designer, just a product manager, so there may be better ways or better look and feel for some of these. But you can get the idea of what is the art of the possible here. Okay. So we kind of have our header, and then conversely, we also have the ability to add a footer. These are all optional, by the way. You can delete these footers and you can always add them back as well. So it's totally up to you. Depends on what your use cases are, what your design asks for. So it does give that flexibility. So I'm going to add a confidential statement just to make sure it doesn't get distributed. And I'm going to add a page number as well, because we are going to have multiple pages to this. Okay, so I'm going to drop that here. All right, so we got the basics down, and we can see that it's already taking some shape in terms of, let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start using some Q elements, just so that we can tie both the use cases together. So Q's are natural language engine. You must have heard a lot about Gen BI and Gen AI. So I wanted to kind of like tie that in with this authoring capability, just so that you can get a sense of how easy it is to build these reports, especially leveraging the power of QuickSight. So here, I'm going to ask that we build a visual to take year-to-date total build amount. So it already is prompting me for what I by segment and service line. Okay, so I'm going to hit build. And it's going to think for a bit, and it's going to generate an output here. So I'm going to say add to analysis. And it should pop up here, right there. Cool. All right, so there you go. So we got a nice looking table, but that doesn't look great. So what I'm going to do is actually make this vertical bar chart. So it looks a little bit more visually appealing. All right, so there you go. So we got this, but then you know what? This data zoom doesn't look great. But let's say I'm new to QuickSight. I don't really know where that option exists in the properties. I can then actually tell Q, hey, I want to actually hide that data zoom. Can you do that for me? It's going to go and hide it. Did it hide it? No. Let me try that again. There it goes. Cool. So now that looks a lot better, right? So I got a nice summary view here. But now what I want to do is I actually want to add the details section right below that. So I have my summary output here, but then I also want to complement that with the details that goes behind it. So let's go back to building a visual. Here, I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to say, build me a table with channel, segment, service line, customer name, and build amount. All right, so let's see what it does. Cool, there you go. Got that. Saving me a lot of time and headache trying to pull all these fields in from here. I'm able to quickly have Q build that for me. So build amount is great. I also noticed that I have a revenue goal. So let me go ahead and add that one. So now I actually want to create a comparison between these two. So I want to find the difference. We have the concept of calculated fields, but I'm new to QuickSight again, and I'm not sure, let's say, how to do that. So I actually want to just find a percent difference between the two. So there's this option here for building calculations. So then I'm going to have Q tell me percent difference between build amount and revenue goal. So the nice thing is it takes care of the syntax and what the format should be. So I'm able to quickly add that in. It does add a little notation here just so that we're able to kind of validate the calculation after all, just to make sure that it is meeting our requirements and need. So I think it looks good. So I'm going to add that here, and I'm going to add that to my table. Percent difference, let's display this as a percent. And I am going to just do a styling here to make these all like that. All right, so looks good. This is a lot of data, yeah. So I want to make sure that we're highlighting where we're seeing the biggest differences or where we're seeing the largest differences. So I can have conditional formatting apply. So I can say color percent difference red when negative. All right, so that way it stands out in my table. All right, so we kind of talked about, okay, so this is a lot of data. So what do we want to do here? We want to actually create these by different channels and different segments. I don't want to, similar to like my state example, I don't want to sit there and kind of duplicate this table different times, multiple times. I just want to have the system do that for me. So I'm going to use this new feature that's in preview where I can add a repeating dimension. So I can say, okay, I want to repeat on channel first, and then I want to repeat on segment. So you can see here, it's done 1 of 3, and then it does another 1 of 3. So total 9 combinations. I actually want, for each one of these combinations, so let's say API and enterprise, I want it on a separate page. So I can simply check that page break each instance. I can also specify, if I so choose, a different sort order, whether it should be ascending, descending, and for the larger um, dimension values, I can also specify a limit. So I just want to see the top 10 channels based on different values, as an example. So we have that. So now this table will get repeated for all those combinations. So let's add a way for us to see what these um, dimensions are. So we can kind of do this API here, and I can add another one, segment. Let's make this a little bit bigger and bold. Cool. All right. Cool. All right, we got that going. And then I also want to add, so since we have both build amount and revenue goal, I actually want to see how they're both comparing. So let me add another gate chart just so that we can see for each one of these outputs how we're tracking to our revenue goal. We'll put that here at the top. You can see everything is freeform in the sense that I am able to adjust the placement of each of these values. For this table, you can see that there's a small notation in the bottom that says it's going to print across multiple pages. There is also a warning that says, hey, this table will expand and it may overlap with visuals that you place below it. So if I had this visual right below this, there's a very high likelihood if there are more rows that this visual will get overlapped. So that's that warning that they're showing there. So here I'm able to turn that option off if there's a need or use case to do so. Here under reporting options, you're able to turn that off in terms of, hey, I want to just show this table and rows that are visible for whatever reason we want to choose that. In addition to that, I want to just show out a couple of other things. You are also able to make changes to the layout. You are able to change this from a portrait to landscape orientation, be able to change the margins, and be able to change the sizes. The nice thing is you are also able to duplicate these visuals, let's say, between sheets. So here I have this interactive sheet. I'm able to use those same visuals and outputs there too. So let's call this guy interactive. So when I can go in here, you can see that between these sections, there's this concept of adding a page break as well. I'm able to add more sections to this output, and I'm able to move these around, which is nice. So you can move a set of these visuals together all at one go without having to move them one by one, which is nice. All right, so I think we're ready. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show. Nope. All right, so then let's go to the publish action here. So at the time of publishing, we provide the option to be able to publish all sheets together, or you can select specific sheets. So this allows you the flexibility as an author or as a builder to build them together, but then provide your users a bifurcated consumption experience. So even though we've kind of built both the report and interactive sheets together, you could still publish a report as a report and an interactive sheet as an interactive sheet. So it still provides that flexibility. So for the purpose of this demo, let's just demo a report. You can publish this as is. So what you'll notice is that by default, as soon as it's published, there's nothing on the paginated or the Pixel Perfect report. And that's by design, right? There's no content that's been scheduled. There's no recurrence that's happened. So this is a blank slate at this point. The build that we've just done still holds. However, it's still waiting for these periodic outputs and generation to happen. In the comparison, what you can see here is that the interactive sheet shows the data real time and it shows this information as it stands. For the case of reports, what we're able to do is we're able to create a schedule. I'm going to show you how that works. So let's say we create an on-demand schedule. Here you can see that I'm able to select across all these different content types. I'm not limited, actually, so I can kind of select all of them and have all the data, all the information that I want sent over. Even though I'm creating a schedule on this particular sheet, I'm able to select between either one. So reports or interactive, you're only able to select one sheet at a time at the moment. From a CSV perspective, you're able to select data tables and pivot tables only. So that's from a content selection perspective. We talked about the dates briefly, but here, let's say I want to send this out every 2 weeks, Mondays and Fridays. We're going to start on next Monday, and we're scheduled to run at this time. You're able to also pick the time zones. From here, you're also able to select email recipients. Here, the prerequisite to this is that recipients should have access to the dashboard already. So you can see here that I'm the only one with access to this dashboard at the moment. I haven't given it to anybody else. So the list of recipients that I would have would only be myself. So let me flip over to one that I've already built, just so that you can see what happens after these schedules get published. So you can see here, in this particular example, I've pre-scheduled a couple of these this morning, just so you could take a look at what that looks like. If you imagine this dropdown to be actually over a period of a couple of weeks or a couple of months, I'm able to, as a user, go back to specific points in time when the schedule was run and run for me, right? So I'm able to go back 4 months ago, and you can see that in my first iteration, I didn't actually have that gate chart. But the data doesn't change because I published a new report. This is what it was at that point in time. And that's kind of the nice thing about pixel perfect reporting, is that it is immutable in the sense that this PDF is static and it was reflecting what that data looked like at that point in time. So a few minutes later, I made that change and now I have that gate chart, and you can see that that is getting reflected here. You can also see that the output that was generated is a 39-page output. So from a build perspective, it's super easy for us, right? We were able to just build that table once, we were building that gate chart once, and then we told the system to repeat for all different permutations for channel and segment, API and enterprise in this particular case. But then you can see that it takes up as much space as it needs, creates a page break, and then it starts the API and small business, does the same thing for the next set. And it takes a page break after wherever it ends, and then it starts up API and startup, and so on and so forth. So it keeps going over and over again. So that's kind of the power of pixel perfect reporting. You're able to design these reports, design these outputs. This can easily be printed, formatted, exported. And as recipients, you're able to receive this in a printed output. From an email standpoint, let me show you what that looks like, just so you can see this. So you can see that from an output standpoint, you're able to receive the output as an attachment that you can easily download, but we also provide a quick, the first page output, just so you can, as a user on a mobile device, you can get the quick summary of how's my build amount going by service line, and maybe that's enough. I don't need to really open up the attachment at this point. We also have a link to viewing the dashboard. So that way from here, as a user, you can directly be navigated back to this page. So that way, maybe in addition to seeing what was done this week, I also want to see what was done last week or previous month. You're able to access all of this information again, as I mentioned, for up to a year. So you can go back to a specific point in time and then say, great, I want to download this version, as well as an output. And the same exact PDF output here would then also be programmatically be able to generate via the Snapshot export APIs. So that way, from an author perspective or a build perspective, you're able to build it once and then have it both distributed programmatically as well as via these schedules.